This is my 1985 Toyota MR2. This is the first generation of its kind, the Mark 1, or as the enthusiasts know, the AW11. So this is a project car and it's a roller, meaning there is no engine in it. But it's in pretty decent shape if you don't think about the paint. But I'll give you a quick tour of it today. This is my project car for this year or the next, and I'm hoping to convert it to a Mark 1.5. If you don't know what it is, you saw a Gen 4 3S GTE in this engine bay and make this a real-time live go-kart. There is a lot of work to be done, but when I was looking for MR2s, my main goal was to find one that hadn't rusted through. This one was in pretty decent shape. The guy I bought it from was a mechanic, Toyota mechanic, and he used this for his daily commute until the engine gave up, and that's how I got it, because he had no more intentions of fixing it or using it, and I was just looking for a roller, so here we are. It is far from beautiful, I realize that, and I am not a mechanic. This is just my hobby, to tinker on cars and other stuff, and I was actually going to record all this stuff for my own purposes because, as many of you may know, when you start doing something, you think to yourself, oh, I'm gonna remember it, but at the end of the day, you forget stuff. So when I'm tinkering on cars or anything for that matter, I either have to take photos all the time or video. So I decided to do the video for this project, and while I'm at it, I realized there wasn't too many Mark 1.5 builds out there in detail, so I wanted to take you along with me on this journey. But let's get in. So this is the cockpit, and as you can see, the dash is full of cracks, as is typical with this generation of car. There's cracks on the pad here. The seats have something to be desired, but overall the car is in, at least mechanically meaning body-wise, in sound condition. There isn't much to show here at the moment, and it's a manual, so that's always good, and that was one of the reasons I bought this one. And the reason I bought the Mark 1 was to make a sleeper out of it, because one day at work I saw one of these guys and I was like, what is that? And that made me think, that would make a nice sleeper. Then I embarked on my journey to find a good one, and believe me, it is hard to find a good one. Aside from all the cosmetic stuff that you see here, the cracked dash and all that from an 80s car like this, these cars tend to rot. Literally rot. I have looked at many of them, and again, when I say this is one of the better ones, the only rusted area was really under here, from the clutch fluid seeping down. So that was one problem area right there. I'm not sure if you can see it or not, but right under the pedals, and that's a relatively easy fix. I'll need to tear this down a bit, of course, and all this carpeting will change, the interior will be revamped, the seats will change, and most importantly, a good engine will get in here, rated at 265 horsepower. This will be a little rocket. This is one of the more problematic areas that you see here, this hole right there. Some sort of fluid found its way through the hood and got in there. I can show you under the hood. The other problematic area is under the hood, which has rusted, but typical rust areas for these cars, and I'll show you on the car next, which has a lot of rust. That's a parts car, and I had 3 of these MR2s. Two of these, and all of them were red. Two of these I got from the same guy. One of them was from Pennsylvania. This one was from Florida originally. So this one is relatively rust free. But here, if you look under the spare tire, this area has pretty much rusted out. Lucky for me, one of the parts cars that I had, even though the floors were all rusted through, this area was like brand spanking new. Even the paint was shining in this area, believe it or not. But I cut out this whole section, hoping to have it welded in. But aside from that, everything is in decent condition as far as I'm concerned, compared to what I found while looking for this one. For instance, there's this guy. This was my other parts car that I have parted out mostly. I got this mostly for the interior bits because unlike that one, which had a lot of sun damage and all the cracks, this one had a decent dash, and those are hard to find. So I figured I can buy this one, tweak it a little bit, get all the stuff that I need out of it, and then send it to the junkyard. But I was in for a surprise. I knew that this particular one had rust issues, like this area was rusted and I could see it in the photos. But what I didn't know was how bad the actual rust damage was, and you realize those stuff as you start pulling out parts. So if you are looking for one of these guys, problematic areas right here, this for instance was under the side skirt, so there is no way you could see this. This area is under the side skirt, and look here, my hand can get in there. Like, see, even the frame parts are like gone. There's a big hole here, I can see the carpet. So the jack stands, I had to place them in weird positions because there is no support here, nothing left. You can go through literally into the cabin. Same goes underneath the other part of the other side of the car. I mean, this thing looks like it has been under a lake for years. Another area of rust. This was uncommon for me, but this is right under the rear bumper, and this is supposed to absorb the energy if you crash, and you can see it is rusted through. Another area of problem is right under here, if you can see. This is right under the trunk. This is where normally the exhaust lives, or the muffler lives, and if you can see clearly, this has been eaten away by rust. This car had a running engine though, so I'll salvage that and sell it off to cover some of my expenses. But other than that, I mean, you look at those shock towers or whatever they're called, they're like crumbling away. I drove this thing 2 hours from where I live, and I'm amazed how it survived all this time. Again, some of these areas you can't see, but this is not too much of a surprise for me because all these MR2s I looked at, they had some sort of rust here or there. I mean, under the trunk was one of the problematic areas, but look at the front bumper. It is literally gone. Like, you can take pieces off of it, or under the hood for that matter. Look at here, under the hood. I mean, even this part is gone. That part is gone. That's gone on my car too. But again, if you are looking for one of these little guys, be careful. I suspect the sheet metal used on these AW11s, oh, AW11 right there, I didn't see that before. These cars, the sheet metal is just crap. So over the years, they just destroy themselves. So again, when I say this car is in good condition, I mean it. I mean, even though it doesn't look like it right now, the paint is faded and there is some cracks in the dash. Those are typical, normal, expected. What you should be on the lookout is for body rust, because some of this stuff you can't just repair these stuff. and you can't Bondo your way out of this one. So the only place this is going is the junkyard. This one is still savable. That will be it for the first video. I think I showed you everything I have on my project MR2. I already have the engine. I will need to retrofit it to this little car here. I'll paint it myself. I'll do the interior. There will be sound deadening installed. So if you want to follow the journey with me, please do so. The worst thing that can happen is you learn from my mistakes. Take care for now.